Well, we continue to live through very wet days indeed, and that has been the theme for recent weeks and even recent months. Do we have a sniff at something a little bit drier towards the middle portion of the month? That is the big question. Thanks for clicking on to the Wednesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Hope you're all well wherever you are. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I do greatly appreciate it. It is a natural downturn in interest at this time of the year, but I would certainly encourage you, and it would certainly help me out as well if you can stick around. If you're even new to the channel as well and you haven't already subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button. There is plenty of things coming up in the next few weeks. Possibly try and do a summer update, number one of two, as we approach the summer forecast that will be released later in the month of May. We're going to be looking at the developing La Nina. We're going to also look at a potential summer US summer forecast, and even a hurricane forecast. The hurricane season begins on the 1st of June, as well as meteorological summer. So there is going to be plenty of content coming up here in the channel and on markvoganweather.com in the weeks ahead. So plenty of reason to hopefully stick around. This is the current pressure chart. This is courtesy of Meteoseal, the French website, and you can see the area of low pressure that has crossed the centre portion of the UK in the last several hours. Now, right along this boundary, we've got some very, very wet weather indeed across southern and central Scotland. We've also got a keen easterly wind and some reasonably cold air not that far to the north of the UK mainland that is keeping a rather nagging chill in the air. Feeling actually distinctly winter-like out there this afternoon, especially when you factor in temperature and the wind combination. But you can see the centre of the low passing through the central portions of the UK here. So we'll play through this kind of loop in the last few hours, and there's that area of low pressure kind of moving eastwards across the north of England. This is the current visible satellite imagery courtesy of Weather Online, and you can see the centre of that low now starting to push out into the North Sea. We've got a lot of cloud cover over the British Isles and Ireland, something we've been so used to seeing in the last few weeks, and also what we've been used to seeing is the amount of rainfall. This is the current radar as of about 4:10 in the evening. Wet conditions up here at Mark Vogan Weather HQ, but thoroughly miserable conditions across the central swathe of Scotland here. Plenty of showers over northern England as well. Relatively high and dry across England, the Midlands and southern England, but you can see here the next system waiting in the wings, about to move onshore in Cornwall in the next wee while or so. But this is the overview chart of the ECMWF, and you can see there's that centre of low pressure. There's the next feature now going to be edging in through this evening. So one system exits the playing field, another arrives on our doorstep, and we are going to see showers and thunderstorms developing anywhere from northern France through the Channel and into southern UK in the next few hours or so here. Seeing something a little bit of a wintry nature up across higher parts of Inverness-shire, Ross-shire, Sutherland and Caithness through the early hours of tomorrow morning. And then it's all eyes on this feature here, a deepening centre of low pressure, potentially one of the deepest centres of low pressure in a wee while here. Notice here, according to the ECMWF, it kind of does weaken somewhat. It's actually this feature here, I beg your pardon, that is winding up generally to the west of Iberia through the middle portions of Friday afternoon. And it's this feature here, by the way, in combination with this low pressure system just to the west northwest of Ireland, that's going to be triggering more showers and thunderstorms, plenty of convective activity as well associated with this feature here, the front running one. But it's this centre of low pressure that could deepen into the 940s in millibars, low 950s, upper 940s in millibars as we move out of Friday and into the day on Saturday. But you notice here, the orientation of the synoptic chart here, we've got a pretty strong area of high pressure over mainland Europe, extending its way westwards into the UK, and with a 954 millibar area of low pressure not that far to the west of Ireland. I reckon we could see the first 20 or 21 Celsius of 2024 with this overall setup here. Very deep low. We could have a howling southerly gale blowing across many parts of the UK, not just coastal areas, not just exposed areas, but many portions of the UK. But up that Irish Sea channel here, we could see very strong damaging wind gusts, especially in exposed coasts. Disruption to shipping will be a very, very high likelihood. The reason why we've got that straight southerly gale, that means that you can really build up the wave heights as it moves between Ireland and Wales, England, Scotland. You've got a lot of water for that southerly wind to generate those very large waves. So this could be problematic as we move towards the weekend with this deep area of low pressure. And like I've already said, very, very mild conditions in association with this as well. You've got 850 temperatures in excess of 15 Celsius. Transfer that down to the surface, factoring in the southerly wind and also the sunshine. I reckon easily 20, 21, possibly even 22 Celsius, believe it or not, in the southeast corner of the UK, extending anywhere from Kent all the way up towards South Yorkshire with this overall setup in place here. So it could be quite an interesting weekend coming up in terms of severe gales, but also the warmest air of the entire year so far arriving. We're also going to see a spell of heavy rainfall followed by shower activity as well as we move through the course of Saturday and then into Sunday. Notice here very quickly that lobe of very, very warm air then gets kicked into the central portion of the continent here. We're back into slightly fresher air as some of that colder air to the north of the circulation gets wrapped around the circulation and then moves across the UK and Ireland through the course of Saturday. So we've got this brief surge of plus 15 Celsius at 850, moving up the eastern side of England early in the day on Saturday. But then following that, we'll see the warmest surface temperatures as the sun gets going, and you've got the combination of sun and strong southerly gale. So quite interesting days to come, and another reason to stick around here in the channel if you were considering possibly leaving the channel. There is quite a lot of weather to speak about in the coming days to come, and also the coming weeks to come, as I've already said previous to that. So also, I made mention of the possibility of something drier, higher pressure, and possibly even with drier, sunnier weather comes potentially warmer weather, especially at this time of the year as we move towards the middle portions of April. Man-Julian oscillation is, yes, not as strong as what it was back 2 or 3 weeks ago when it rotated strongly through phases 4 and 5. What is the Man-Julian oscillation? It is an area of enhanced convection that cycles around the equatorial belt of the planet. The stronger this pulse of convection is, the more influential potential it has on the mid to high latitude pattern, dictating highs, low pressure, jet stream strength, the waviness of jet stream. It can all be enhanced by the Man-Julian oscillation. When it goes through phases 4 and 5, which is through Indonesia and Australia, in an enhanced state, you tend to find stronger, higher pressure over Europe and over Western Europe as well. This tends to lead to a warm pattern, not just here in Western Europe, but also across the eastern United States as well. You can see here that we went through a strong rotation of 4 and 5, middle portions of March here. Then we rotate through 6, 7, 8, and 1, done a full loop, and it's edging back towards that 4 and 5 once again. Now, if we look at the GFS ensemble, I don't think there's any coincidence here that we are going to see the potential models showing drier conditions as we move towards the middle portions of the month. This is the upcoming 5 days, by the way, of the 500 millibar geopotential height anomaly. This is the GFS ensemble. You can see here we've got a very, very notable ridge over southern and central Europe at the moment. We've got the trough to the west of the UK and Ireland, west southwest of the UK and Ireland. That is a warm overall situation, but it's also quite a wet theme as well. As you can see here, for the same time frame, this is the rainfall anomaly, wetter than average, and also, no surprise, it is also warmer than average. But if you look at the front running 5 days, you've actually got slightly colder air lingering over the far north of the UK. But get down to the central belt and south of that, you've got firmly warmer than average conditions. Look at how warm the majority of Europe is at the moment, with the exceptions of Scandinavia. We'll talk about that in just a second. So, MJO rotating, not as strong, but rotating into phases 4 and 5. That can lead to a warmer theme over Europe. Let's go back to the upper view, the upper air pattern and the anomaly here. You can see that as we play through this loop, keeping in mind what I've just showed you with the MJO, notice the pressure building over the UK and Ireland as we move towards the 11th through the 16th of April. Looking at the rainfall anomaly here for that same time frame, and you're starting to see a drying theme moving in. So we go from wetter than average conditions, then that wetter than average starts to get shifted to the west northwest of the UK, and we're actually flirting with drier than average conditions between the 11th and the 18th of April here. Notice here that it is still slightly wetter than average on the western side of Scotland here, and the reason probably for that is we've got frontal systems associated with that trough low pressure well out to the west of the UK and Ireland. Northwestern Scotland is likely to be on the boundary between the high and the low, and therefore we could see some fairly significant rainfall if that frontal boundary sets up directly overhead, especially when you've got the high mountains in western Scotland and you've got rain coming in from a south to southwesterly direction. You can really mount rainfall totals up. Elsewhere, it's drier than average. Looking at the temperature anomaly here for the same period once again, and we've got warmer than average. Not overly warmer than average, arguably not as warm as what the upcoming 5 day period is going to be, especially when you've got that southerly gale blowing, very mild air going to get lifted north up the central and eastern side of the UK, but nonetheless warmer overall. We're not going to have the same kind of wind if that area of high pressure starts to bodily move up into the UK. So we have got an opportunity of seeing something drier and more settled. That is the take home. Rather than it being a heat wave, the take home from today's video is that with the MJO rotating through phases 4 and 5, albeit in a weak state, which tends to have a little bit less influence on the middle latitude pattern, nonetheless, I'm hopeful that we'll start to lose some of this very, very wet pattern that we have going at the moment as we move towards the middle portions of the month. So we'll keep a close eye on this in the days to come. And like I've already said, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you again tomorrow with more. Bye for now.